So we are going to go ahead and do an arch tape job. The goal of this tape job is to support our medial longitudinal arch. We're going to start with some tough skin. Your feet typically get pretty sweaty, so it's important that we've got some tough skin just to help the tape job stay in place. Give that a second so that it dries. We're also going to use a heel and lace pad. I actually usually just rip it in half because you want something to protect just kind of the back of the Achilles over the calcaneus from the tape, because we do go around the back of the heel. So we're going to use half a heel and lace pad right at the back of the calcaneus. Then we're going to go and move on to our anchors. We're going to put one anchor right across the heads of the MTP joints. Okay, so depending on the angle of people's MTP joints, sometimes that anchor can be a little bit at an angle, or sometimes it's straight across, but really you want to make sure that you cover, like, the first MTP joint for sure is a good landmark for a lot of our strips, so make sure that you've got that joint covered. Then we're going to do one anchor around the outside of the foot, trying to keep the tape parallel to the bottom of the foot. Hook it all the way around the heel, and as you see from right away from the anchor, I'm always going to be moving lateral to medial because I'm trying to pull the tape in the direction of that medial longitudinal arch, because that's the area that I want to support. So now I've got my anchors in place. Then I'm going to go and move on to doing some teardrops here on the bottom to create kind of like a support basket weave system. I'm going to use half a strip of tape, so you can use your normal roll of tape, just rip it in half. We're going to start at that first MTP joint, okay? And like I mentioned before, we're always going outside first and ending coming in, so lateral to medial. When you get to that medial side, just give it a good pull when you come up, okay? So this is one tape job where you actually will end up with a pocket, and that's okay. In the end, we'll cover it with strips. Most of the time, you want to make sure your tape is flat up against the skin, but for this tape job, you do kind of want to create a pocket there. The other thing I should have mentioned is our starting position for this tape job. Ideally, you want to have the foot at about 90 degrees of dorsiflexion, but you also want to have their toes relaxed, okay? So right off the bat, the athlete will typically extend their toes, but you want to try to get them to relax, okay? So there's a little bit of softness in through that arch. It's relaxed a little bit. So then I'm going to move over to the second MTP joint. So we're going to do the exact same teardrop, just moving over one metatarsal at a time. Okay, so there is that for the second MTP joint. We're going to repeat on the third. Okay, so typically what I do is I'll do 1 on 1, 2, and 3. And because most of our weight goes through the first, I want to reinforce that one a little extra. So I'm going to do a second teardrop on my second MTP joint, ending coming in, and then we're going to do one final one on that first MTP joint. Get a lot of extra support there. Okay, so like you can see, this is pretty tight over here. We've got a pocket, but we're going to go ahead and cover that up now. So now we're just going to cover with horizontal strips, starting right at the top. Try to cover all the loose ends. You're going to go from one anchor to the other, again always going lateral to medial. Okay, once you get the ends of the tape covered, you're going to work your way down half a width of tape at a time, so you get a good amount of overlap. And when you come across medially, press the tape in and really give it a good pull upwards, okay? So that pull is reinforcing that arch. Pull up. Nice pull. And you don't want to cover the heel completely, so I would do one more strip here. You do want to leave the heel open. It's a lot more comfortable for the athlete. And then you're gonna do one final anchor around the outside of the foot to cover up all of those ends of tape as well. Okay, if you look at it from the top here, it's not actually connected on the top of the foot. And so sometimes if an athlete has a really sweaty foot, it'll just peel right off and it kind of falls off halfway through practice. So I tend to do just a couple strips up top that will connect those two anchors. But it's important you don't go all the way around because you don't want to prevent the foot from being able to splay upon weight bearing. And that's it, a couple strips to hold it, and then it's all closed up on the bottom.